3 days before the wedding, I tore up the wedding dress replicating my fiancé's white moonlight. 3 days before the wedding, I went for my final dress rehearsal and makeup trial. Inside the sealed high-end makeup studio, the warm lighting was soft and the air was filled with the faint scent of essential oils. The makeup artist worked with gentle precision, carefully securing the veil into my hair. Suddenly, her fingertips paused without warning, her movements freezing mid-air. Her expression tinged with awkwardness and hesitation. Miss Lou, Mr. Bai just sent over a brand new set of makeup and styling reference photos. HES requested we follow this exactly, without any deviation. I lifted my eyes to the high-definition full-length mirror, staring silently at my exquisitely made -up reflection. The nude pale pink lip color, the tight low chign on that flattened my hair against my scalp, the pearl-embellished tiara hugging my temples, and the two soft tendrils of hair deliberately left to frame my face, everything about it screamed in intentional gentleness, so docile it had lost all edges. This was not the wedding look I had originally finalized. My initial choice had been a sharp, sophisticated low ponytail, paired with a bold, matte reddish-brown lip, complemented by a minimalist satin main gown, clean, structured, and full of character. When the wedding planner first saw the proposal, they praised it effusively, saying it matched my personality and temperament perfectly. High-class and timeless. Back then, Bo Chen was right there beside me. He watched the entire presentation, gave a faint nod in agreement, his brows gentle and his tone tender. You look beautiful no matter what. I like you either way. I believed him. Through 7 years of companionship, I had always trusted his every word implicitly, never doubting, never digging deeper. Until this moment, as the makeup artist hesitantly handed me a tablet, shattering all my self-deception. On the screen lay a high-definition photo from an old wedding. In the picture, a woman wore an identical satin wedding dress, the same low chign on, the same pearl tiara, and the same muted nude-pink lips. She stood gracefully at the church entrance, a bouquet of full, white lilies of the valley in her hands, her smile shallow but impossibly gentle. In the bottom right corner of the photo, a line of stark black text marked the date 5 years ago. Shenjing's wedding ceremony. The white moonlight untouchable. Idealized first love he had loved for half his life, the one he couldn't have, the one he regretted losing. My fingertips turned slightly cold. I didn't lash out or fly into a rage. The studio was terrifyingly silent. You could hear a pin drop. Only the faint sizzling of the curling iron heating up broke the oppressive quiet. The makeup artist, looking mortified, stammered softly, "Miss Lou, Mr. I specifically instructed that the style is gentler, has more story to it, and will photograph best for the wedding album. It's the safest choice." I stared intently at the old photo, then slowly turned my gaze to the finished gown hanging on the rack beside me. The fabric was thick, heavy satin with a wide train, featuring a neat, retro square neckline and a row of exquisite pearl buttons down the back. It was overflowing with gentleness, but completely devoid of presence, obedient, like a decorative doll waiting to be arranged. I remembered clearly what I had initially chosen was a sleek, fist 8- cut wedding dress that accentuated my figure, sharp and commanding. It was Bo Chen who vetoed it outright, his tone icy, calling it too aggressive, too edgy, and not befitting a demure bride. I didn't argue. I compromised and changed the design. Later, he casually remarked that the skirt was too narrow, lacking in ceremonial grandeur, so I stayed up all night ordering the factory to rush a wider, more magnificent train. When he offhandedly said that common red roses were vulgar and that pure white lilies of the valley would be better, I didn't ask why, I simply obeyed. Back then, when I asked him why he preferred lilies of the valley, he gave a vague, perfunctory answer: "They're clean." Today, I finally woke up. It was never that the lilies were clean, it was that Shen Jingzhu, the white moonlight haunting his heart, had held that exact flower in her hands 5 years ago. From beginning to end, the clean thing was never the flower, it was the lingering shadow of his unfulfilled past. Footsteps, steady and measured, sounded from outside the door, growing closer. The next second, the studio door was pushed open. Bo Chen walked in first, followed closely by the wedding planner who kept her head down, and his assistant carrying files. He wore a sharply tailored dark suit, his features cold and reserved, his aura calm and intimidating. He looked exactly like he did before a major business negotiation, not a hint of the joy or warmth one would expect from a groom on the eve of his wedding. He glanced up and saw me staring transfixed at the tablet, a flicker of something cold flashing in his eyes. That micro-minus expression of panic lasted less than a second before vanishing so fast that the old me would have instinctively made excuses for him, dismissing it as an accident. What's taking so long? The guest run minus through, starting soon. Don't delay the process, he said flatly. His tone laced with an unquestionable dominance, not a trace of apology. The makeup artist was too frightened to speak, shrinking into the corner, barely daring to breathe. I raised my hand, slowly turned the tablet around, and pointed it directly at him. My voice eerily calm. This is the reference you specifically sent over. Bo Chen lowered his eyes to glance at the photo, his expression showing not a shred of panic. He admitted it openly. Jingzhu's wedding was a classic in the industry. The atmosphere was perfect. Following this direction will make the overall style softer and more enduring. It won't fail. I let out a low, hollow laugh, the sound devoid of any warmth. He explained too quickly, too smoothly, every word polished to perfection, as if he had rehearsed it 1,000 times on the way over, just waiting for me to ask so he could brush me off. Tian, don't overcomplicate things. It's just a stylistic reference. I have no other meaning behind it. I'm not deliberately making you look like her. Just... That light, featherweight word landed like a hammer to my chest, reverberating with all the years of my own repression, compromise, and grievance. The impact left my heart aching. Countless tiny details I had deliberately ignored now surged to the surface, crystal clear. The first time he took me to meet his core social circle, an old friend jokingly commented that my silhouette resembled Chen Jingzhu's. Bo Chen hadn't refuted it or defended me. He simply lowered his head, poured me tea, and diffused the situation with a detached, "Don't talk nonsense, they are different." Back then, I actually thought he was protecting me. Later, on a whim, I cut my hair into a sharp bob, refreshing and capable, but he fell silent for an entire evening, his face grim, saying nothing. When I anxiously asked if it looked bad, if it didn't suit me, he only tossed out coldly, "Long hair is gentler, more suitable for you." Still later, I bought a vibrant, bright red evening gown to wear for our anniversary. He frowned and shook his head, saying the color was too loud, too arrogant, that it made me look flighty. I didn't argue. I silently switched it for a plain white dress, catering to his preferences. It wasn't that I never noticed these discrepancies. I simply loved him too humbly, too accommodating. Lie. I made excuses for him time and again, attributing every anomaly to differences in aesthetic or habit, repeatedly telling myself that the past didn't matter, that being the one by his side was enough. Until this moment, standing in my own wedding studio, I finally saw the truth clearly. He had systematically altered my wedding dress, makeup, hairstyle, bouquet, and even the background music of the entire ceremony to replicate the regret-filled wedding of 5 years ago. Some feelings don't start suddenly. I just refused to admit that they had veered off course long ago. I raised my hand, my fingertips deftly removing the exquisite net veil from my head, tossing it onto the counter. The makeup artist jumped in fright, blurting out, "Miss Lu, don't be impulsive." Ignoring her, I reached up again and took off the pearl tiara, hugging my chign on. The round pearls clattered against the makeup table, shattering all pretenses of gentleness and decorum. Bo Chen's brow furrowed deeply, his tone laced with impatience and warning. "Yi Jian, don't be unreasonable. Now is not the time for tantrums." I lifted my eyes, looking at him directly through the mirror, my gaze sober and icy, holding no trace of attachment. "Bo Chen, you weren't ever sincere about marrying me." His face instantly darkened, his presence turning oppressive. Lu Yijian. What nonsense are you spouting? You just want to use me to complete the regret of not being able to marry Shen Jingzhu 5 years ago, I stated word by word, clear and calm, stripping away all his disguises. The wedding planner and assistant froze in place, not daring to breathe, the scene locked in dead silence. Bai Chen lowered his voice, his tone threatening as he tried to suppress his rage. There are outsiders here. We'll discuss this privately later. Don't make a spectacle of yourself. I nodded calmly, my expression serene, perfect. Since everyone is here, let them witness this. I picked up my phone and began taking clear, methodical photos of the tablet screen, the replicated wedding dress, and the wedding itinerary sheet on the table. Emblazoned on the itinerary was the entrance music, echoes of the past. I suddenly remembered asking him about the origin of the song before. He had only said it was Nishantai class. Only now did I fully understand this piece was also the exclusive soundtrack to Shen Jingzhu's wedding 5 years ago. From start to finish, it was all replication. All obsession, all regret. There was only ever me missing. Seeing this, Bo Chen instinctively reached out to snatch my phone and destroy the evidence. I took a light step back, avoiding him steadily, my tone glacial. Don't touch me. His hand stiffened in mid-menacere, his eyes full of bewilderment. In 7 years of companionship, I had never spoken to him with such distant, icy defiance. I had always been gentle, compliant, and yielding. For 7 years, I had stayed by his side as he built his career from scratch, weathering the company's most difficult bankruptcy crisis alongside him, running through the city day and night to meet investors. When the team faced mass resignations and turmoil, it was I who stayed behind to stabilize morale and soothe the employees. When suppliers surrounded the office demanding payment, creating ugly, chaotic scenes, it was I who stepped forward alone to shield him, humbling myself to mediate and diffuse the tension. I was accustomed to staying calm in crises, accustomed to cleaning up his messes, accustomed to preserving his dignity and smoothing over his humiliations. So he had probably long forgotten that my innate common sensibility did not mean I had no bottom line, nor did it mean I could willingly be a stand minus and for someone else my entire life. Bai Chen's face turned completely cold, his tone bearing naked threat. The wedding is in 3 days. All the guests are confirmed, the venue is paid in full, and the invitations have all been sent. If you dig up the past and throw a tantrum now, canceling the wedding will benefit no one, and you yourself will lose all face. I'm not digging up the past, I replied, looking back at him evenly, my eyes firm without a hint of wavering. I simply don't want to wear someone else's template on my happiest day, be a stand minus and for someone else, unmarry a man who has never had me in his heart. I turned, grabbed the replicated satin wedding dress off the rack, and threw it onto the sofa. The fabric slid down, the pearl buttons clicking against the surface, shattering this false wedding completely. The wedding is cancelled, I declared, my voice steady and resonant. I will bear all the losses alone. I will personally apologize and explain to every guest. As for the venue penalties, I will pay the full amount. You don't need to worry about a single cent. Bai Chen was completely stunned, his eyes filled with disbelief. He had never seen me so resolute and unyielding. In his eyes, I was forever meek and obedient, forever unable to leave him, forever accommodating his every whim. Lu Yijian, think carefully. Don't regret this, he bit out, his voice laced with panic. I let out a soft laugh, my eyes filled with relief and ease. I thought it through long ago. The moment you changed my look to resemble hers, I thought it through completely. I removed all my earrings and necklace, took off the wedding undergarments and slip, and changed back into my simple, everyday casual clothes, clean, sharp, can't reclaim myself. Bai Chen, you stay here and guard your regrets of the past. You stay here and mourn your white moonlight, I said. Looking at him one last time, there was no reluctance, no sadness, only the peace of someone who had completely let go. I'm not playing your stand minus and charade anymore. 7 years of deep affection ends here. We are even. With that, I turned, pushed open the door and walked out of the studio. My steps were firm. My retreat decisive, striding forward without a single backward glance. Outside, the sunlight was brilliant, and the breeze was gentle, 100 times warmer than staying in that cold, hypocritical wedding venue. For the rest of my life, I will be no one's stand minus n, only myself, sober, independent, and at peace.